Hey guys, to my 2 subscribers out there, this is for you. Look how beautiful it is out here. Ooh, the sun is shining. Anyways, I thought I would just come on here because, like, low-key, I'm going through a fucking lot right now. And I thought it would be a good idea to maybe just talk about it and get some of this shit off my chest. First, I just want to talk about I don't know. I feel like lately, the past couple of days, it's been an emotional roller coaster. I've been on my period, which obviously is a significant amount. It's a significant amount of the pain, or at least it amplifies the pain that I'm going through. But I guess I've just been in a place where I'm having to let go of things that really don't serve me and that don't align with me. And it's really painful because, like, I'm at the place where, like, I know that holding on to these things aren't serving me, and it's not that I want to hold on to them, but it's that letting them go, it's so hard, you know. And also, when letting go of something, you know, there's always just this kind of fear that, like, what if I don't, like, what if letting this thing go doesn't bring something better into my life? And so you kind of cling on to it, or I cling on to it, at least more in the past, I would cling on to it tighter. But I'm at this place where I've kind of let go. There's a little baby over there playing baseball, and it's so cute. But, yeah, so I've had a hard time, and it's been a fucking tough day, like, tough couple of weeks. Just honestly, this term in general has been, this winter term at college has been really stressful, and, like, it's been a challenge to be kind of, it's been a challenge, you know. I've gone through some shit that's just been really hard, and I have a lot of school. I'm low-key a little bit behind on some of my schoolwork. Not all of it, but just for, like, one class. And I've just been having a really tough time emotionally and mentally with certain experiences and situations in my life. But like I was saying, to get back to what I was saying, I used to find it really hard to let go of certain things because I was afraid of, you know, I was afraid of being without and feeling sort of limited. But I think that right now I'm at this place in my life where I'm accepting, and I know it to be my truth that whenever I let go of something, it's only gonna bring something in more fulfilling and better fit for my life. And so it's just so challenging because right now I'm having to, like, let go of, it's so hard to talk about, which is why it should be talked about. Yes. I'm in the process right now of sort of distancing myself from my family and cutting them off, and I feel guilty about even saying this. I feel guilty about even talking about this because I worry that one of them will come upon my video and they'll be butthurt or pissed off or angry, but it's just something that has to be done, you know. I'm not cutting them off so I'm not cutting them off because I'm trying to be spiteful or because I'm trying to make them angry or hateful. I'm really just distancing myself from them because personally, I know that I have a lot of trauma when it comes to my family, you know. There's a lot of pain, and I'm not cutting them off because I hate them because of that. Because more likely than not, I've forgiven them for, like, you know, I've forgiven them, or I am in the process of forgiving them, or I will forgive them sometime in the future for the things that they've done, you know. But something that I've really just had to accept, I was talking about this especially with my buddy and we were just talking about how, you know, like, when it comes to, you know, having family that doesn't necessarily take care of you, and you're such a sensitive person, and you're, you know, very compassionate, but you were neglected growing up, oftentimes that results in the child, in this case me, feeling guilty and feeling like I did something wrong, or like it was my fault. Or since I know that, like, I'm aware that, like, self-care, no, what? What? I'm aware that, what the fuck am I talking about? I am aware what my mother and what my father must have gone through in order to, you know, be the parents that they were. And that breaks my heart that they had to go through that. But something that I've been having to accept more than anything lately is that just because they went through something traumatic, and just because they also went through a hard childhood, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't right a wrong, you know? It doesn't make what they did okay, you know? It doesn't make it any better, you know? And so something that I've just been, like, really learning recently is that I don't have to keep these people in my life if it's not fulfilling me. And personally, the relationships that I have with my family, it's just not fulfilling for me. It honestly never really has been. They are kind of stuck in a lot of cycles, and in a lot of the trauma that they went through really shapes the people that they are today. And as somebody who has outgrown that and who is in the process of outgrowing those cycles, it's challenging for me to be around them, because it triggers me and it puts me in this state of fear, and I'm just in this constant state of anxiety, and I'm never fulfilled, and I feel like I'm always the one giving to the relationships, and I'm never receiving what I want back, you know? And I know that my mom tries and stuff, but, like, it just doesn't, just because she tries doesn't make it enough, you know? And personally, I don't have to settle, you know? I don't have to settle for that. And so, yeah, I really just prioritize my chosen family, which, you know, I'm building and figuring all that out. I'm figuring it out. It's just really hard. I'm just kidding. The sun is shining, the grass is green, the orange and palm trees sway. There's never been such a day in Beverly Hills, LA. I'm pretty sure there's, like, a baseball game going on. A lot of people are starting to show up. But shall continue to talk. There's a doggy. Rain. Something that, for example, a cycle that I'm outgrowing right now is the cycle of, I think, codependency. I think I tend to trauma bond with people really quickly, or I'll just bond with people super quickly, and then it kind of burns out just as quickly as it started, you know? And I think what that ends up leading to is I can oftentimes, like, catch feelings for people super quickly, and I think that's just, like, part of it, you know? And I think I'm having a harder time explaining it because I'm still, like, figuring this out. I kind of feel, like, embarrassed to talk about it, and almost ashamed of myself for, like, talking about this and for being in this part of my life. But I feel like more than anything, it's, like, the fact that I can recognize this. It's the fact that I can, like, recognize that this is happening right now, that, you know, this is what's happening, and I'm happy that I can recognize this. That way I can break this cycle in the future. It's definitely really sad because the cycle that the relationship and the friendship, or the friendship that I'm recognizing this in is a friendship with a person that I got pretty close with pretty quickly, and, you know, one thing led to another, and I caught feelings. And obviously it took a lot of strength for me to be very honest and upfront with her, but I feel like super proud of myself for doing so, because in doing so, like, it really did help me to recognize this pattern within me. And now I can do the work that it takes to, like, stop doing this, you know, and to break this cycle and to, you know, heal. I feel like it's almost embarrassing when you're honest with people about how you feel, because it's like, it can be tough, you know. And I definitely feel that, like, this pattern and me setting boundaries and me recognizing this pattern, it's been affecting the friendship. And I wouldn't really even say negatively, it's just kind of like, it's changing the friendship that we have. It's changing. I don't know where it's gonna go, but honestly, more than anything, whether we end up being friends in the future, I'm just super proud of myself for being able to be honest, because I'm a very honest person. I always really have been. I've always been outspoken, and I've always been a truthful child. Always told people how I felt, but growing up it wasn't accepted, you know. But more now that I'm 18 and, you know, I'm becoming an adult, I have learned that, you know, it is important to be honest with people about how you feel. It is so fucking, like, so important in order to have friendships, and in order to have relationships, in order to have a good connection with even yourself. Like, it is so important to have really good communication, and it's so important to be honest with people about how you feel. Because I was reflecting on this morning when I was laying in bed before I got up to, like, do my little Reiki and get ready for the day. But something that I've for sure, like, recognized and accepted is that there's a car there and it's, like, low-key distracting me. But, you know, what am I talking about? I just got distracted. I just saw a car, like a fucking, no, not a van, a truck, and it triggered me, because I got run over by a truck when I was little. And so, yeah, seeing trucks low-key trigger me. That's vulnerable, damn. But anywho, that actually leads to what I want to say. I think that being vulnerable can be kind of embarrassing, because when you're vulnerable, you're putting yourself in a place where you're putting yourself in a situation and in a place to be judged by other people. And that's why a lot of people avoid being vulnerable, because they don't want to be judged and they don't want to be criticized from people for the way they feel or what they think or all that stuff. But something that's so important is to be afraid and do it anyways, because if I'm being honest, I'm where I'm at in life right now because I've been super vulnerable. You know, like, it's funny because sometimes I forget how far I've come, and it's hard to, I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but in connections, I think that, like, a lot of people avoid being honest because of that reason. They don't want to be judged. But something that happens, or mainly what happens when you're not upfront about somebody, when you're not upfront with somebody about how they're making you feel, often that can lead to stagnation. So, like, if you're in the friendship or you're in a relationship and your partner does something to piss you off, or they do something to make you uncomfortable, or you're feeling some certain way and you don't tell them, that's gonna lead to, like, problems in the future, no doubt, like, without a fucking doubt. And it's also gonna lead to you holding that in and holding that resentment in, because even if you don't hate the person, you're gonna subconsciously hold hatred for them and subconsciously hold spite and malice toward them for that thing that they probably don't even know that they fucking did. They weren't even aware, you know? Like, for example, say that your boyfriend, you love him with your whole fucking heart. He's a kind and genuine person. He's your dream man, okay? But he literally does not fucking, like, clean off the toilet, or he pisses and he puts the toilet seat up and he does not clean up his pee when he fucking is done peeing, and he doesn't put down the fucking lid. And you think that's disgusting because you've had talks with him about it, or maybe you haven't. This is just an example, you know. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so you notice that he does that, right? And maybe you mention it to him a few times, like, hey, could you stop doing that? But he continues to do it. Or yeah, so then maybe you're like, you know, you're getting pissed off at him because he's not doing it. So then you like go and you're like, hey, I want you to start fucking like putting the pussy down, la la la. What that's gonna do to you is, if you're going into a connection or you're pissed off at somebody and you're trying to confront somebody when your feelings aren't even processed, you're gonna trigger them. No, like, regardless, without a doubt. You're gonna trigger them, and they're gonna get into a traumatized state, and then that's gonna make them not want to be very receptive to what you're having to say. So another thing is that when you're being honest about somebody, or when you're being honest with somebody, it is so important to be very kind and compassionate. Like, don't be a dick, don't be a fucking asshole. Like, if you have something to say to somebody, like, process your feelings before, like, if you're pissed off at somebody, or if somebody has done something to piss you off or make you angry, do not tell them right off the bat. Take time to fucking process your feelings. That way, when you do tell them, eventually, when you're ready and when you've processed your feelings, they can be in a place where you can be in a place where you're not gonna get, like, you've processed your feelings, you've let go of the hatred, you've let go of the anger, and then you can tell them from a place that it's not gonna trigger them. And then, because if they're in that triggered state, it's gonna make them resist you. They're gonna get scared of you, and they're gonna want to, like, back away from you. And so yeah, I actually just did recently go through this too. A friend of mine did something to piss me off, and it really made me angry. And at the moment, I did not say anything. I didn't say anything, but eventually I did tell her. I was like, you did this thing that low-key pissed me off, and I need to tell you so it doesn't affect our friendship. And I did, and after that, it was good. Like, the weight, the anxiety, it's off my chest now, you know? And so that's just, you know, brings me to pretty much the conclusion of this video. Like, I think that, like, excuse me, communication is, like, literally so important, and I can't wait to see what I'm gonna look like. I start my tea Thursday. Yeah, but yeah, communication is so important in friendships. And I guess something that I've been feeling recently very heavily is this guilt and this anxiety and maybe this embarrassment around being fucking vulnerable with people around me about how I feel or what I'm going through, because I'm afraid of their judgment, you know? I'm afraid of them judging me, and I'm afraid of putting myself in that vulnerable space, in that's very vulnerable, you know? It's very, very hard to be vulnerable with people and to be upfront with people about how you feel. And you know, it's hard, but it's also so important to do that, you know, because at the end of the day, we're not mind readers, you know? And I think that oftentimes when you get into a relationship, you just expect the other person to read your mind. You expect them to read your mind. You know, it's so satisfying, like, peeling the freaking moss off of this bench, which is pretty much just mold, if you think about it. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, but I think that communication is key. And something that my friend said to me, my buddy, my pal, my coworker, they said, you know, I was, you know, opening up to them about a certain situation that I'm going through, and kind of the embarrassment that I feel for being very honest and vulnerable with people, because it does come with a bit of a, like, embarrassment, you know? Like, being so vulnerable with somebody can be so fucking embarrassing. Honestly, it could be humiliating, especially when you tell somebody about how you feel and they don't feel the same. That shit's humiliating. This is humiliating. It's embarrassing, but at the end of the day, I have no regrets about telling people about how I feel and being honest with people about my feelings toward them, because it's just, it has to be done, you know? It's something that like has to, it's just something that has to be done. And I think that like a lot of people have a harder time being vulnerable and have a harder time being honest and have a harder time, you know, being upfront. I really feel like I'm being kind of redundant here, but I think y'all get the point. For the debt I owe, gotta sell my soul. Something that reminds me of vulnerability is I'm a singer and I'm a songwriter, and sometimes I do get very embarrassed and I get super vulnerable about posting, you know, my music online for people to see, because that's scary, you know, to know that like the person that I wrote this song for will probably see this, and that's vulnerable as fuck. But I think that something that's so beautiful, it's something that I often want to remind myself of, is that like nobody's judging me for my feelings, and if they are, then that is their own problem. You know, what people judge in you is what they lack in themselves, you know, and if they're judging me for being vulnerable or having any sort of judgment or criticism, that's something that they probably have a hard time being vulnerable with other people, you know? And yeah, it's just, it's a challenge and it's really fucking difficult. But I often try to remind myself, and I try to think of the fact that something that I like to remind myself of is that artists who put music out, like some of my favorite artists, singers like Melanie Martinez, Clairo, Girl in Red, Ruby Waters, my queen, they're all so vulnerable, and they're so vulnerable about their feelings, you know, they're vulnerable, and that takes a lot of courage, you know, but it's their vulnerability that gives people the permission to be vulnerable themselves, you know. It's them being vulnerable and having the courage to share their feelings with the world, which is something that's not like accepted, and it's not something that's like actively like encouraged in today's society. You know, we've been conditioned by family and friends and by just the world in general that, you know, vulnerability is something that should be suppressed, and vulnerability is something that makes you weak. That vulnerability is something that makes you a burden in somebody else's life, you know. And so that's why a lot of people aren't vulnerable. They don't be being vulnerable enough. And yeah, so I totally understand it. I totally understand it, because I've been there, you know. I've been that person, but I still kind of am. But yeah, vulnerability is so important, and I'm proud of myself for being vulnerable. And I think that people who can be brave enough to be vulnerable with people and be vulnerable with how they feel towards somebody, and just be upfront and honest with people about how they feel, like, they're such brave people, and I admire them with my whole being. And that's such a strong thing to do, and I think that like you should be proud of yourself if you're vulnerable, and if you're, you know, open to being authentic around people. Like, that is such like a fucking, like, that's an accomplishment, and you should just be hella fucking proud of yourself. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself for being vulnerable, because honestly, I shouldn't feel embarrassed, or I shouldn't feel guilty about being open with people about my feelings. Like, that's such a brave ass thing to do. Like, honestly, that is so brave. I'm proud of myself. And the beautiful thing about being honest with people about how you feel is that way when you what the fuck? There's like this RV over here attached to this truck, and it has like a chimney, and there's like smoke coming out of the chimney. Oh hell no. People can be so crafty. Respect. Oh yeah, so something that, you know, the beautiful thing about when you're honest with somebody about how you feel, and when you're upfront with somebody about your feelings, you're honest, you're transparent, it makes it to where this other person doesn't feel like they have to read your mind, first of all, something that I'm definitely trying to learn in life is that people don't fucking read my mind. Like, they're not a mind reader, I'm not a fucking mind reader. And that's why I really respect myself when I tell people how I feel, because in a way, I'm respecting them because I'm not expecting them to, I'm respecting them because I'm not expecting them to read my mind, Damn, that's good. Oh shit, I just made that up. I'm respecting them because I'm not expecting them to read my mind. That's some powerful shit right there. But, the other thing that comes with being vulnerable is sometimes when you're vulnerable with people and when you set a boundary with people, it can make the other person distant and it can make the other person pull away, which it's hard, but I think that in those people pulling away, that just goes to show that the boundary needed to be set, And I think that's the hardest thing about setting a boundary, is that when you set a boundary with somebody and when you're honest and authentic and transparent with somebody about how you feel, it is bringing upheaval in the relationship. Like you're bringing kind of some upheaval in the relationship. It's not going to be, you're like kind of risking the peace in order to be honest, And it reminds me of like, when people are getting married and they're like, if there are any rejections or something like that, forever speak now or forever hold your peace. I feel like people are like, in my personal experience, and I know in a lot of people's experience this, you won't like be honest with people because you don't want to mess up the peace of the relationship, the perceived peace. Because in reality, if you're not being authentic and upfront about somebody about how you're feeling, is there really actually peace in that relationship? Because you're not having peace of mind, So like at the end of the day, it's really not worth it. Like it's just not even worth it to fucking hold it in. And so when you are vulnerable with somebody, and when you are, upfront and authentic and transparent with somebody about how you're feeling, that can cause, it causes like I said, upheaval. I know there's a better word for it, but I can't think of it right now. It causes kind of some, I don't know the word. Let me think. I don't know. It just, it puts the peace of the relationship at risk, because things can change and it gives the other person an opportunity to pull away from you and to, do what they gotta do. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a baseball game going on. There's like a family, like a bunch of families doing baseball shit. Something that's so funny to me and that I just recognized today is that why is baseball always the sport that a father and a son bond over? I don't know. Like, if I'm being honest, if I had a dad, which to be honest I don't know that I'd want that with him. I don't know that I would. Maybe. I don't know. As a trans person, it's complicated, but there's also. So yeah, with being honest about this, person, about how I feel about her, it's been triggering for me and very vulnerable. It's been really hard, but I'm so proud of myself for doing so. And low-key, this might fuck up the relationship or the friendship. By the way, when I refer to friendships, I often refer to friendships as relationships, and I don't mean it's romantic. I just that's how I refer to a lot of the friendships in my life, because it is a relationship. And I guess you don't have to have a relationship with somebody. You can have a relationship with somebody and it doesn't have to be romantic. So that's what I mean, just to clarify. For example, I guess it just, yeah. Anyways, to clarify that, because I don't want people to think that I'm in a romantic relationship with whoever the fuck I'm talking about, because I'm not. That's just how I refer to the friendship, because it is a relationship, it's just not a romantic one. Anywho, yeah, so it's just kind of scaring me now, because I'm at this place where I'm like, OMG, we might not be friends in the future, because my vulnerability might make things weird and awkward. But that is something that I cannot control. And obviously it's bringing me some pain, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, which is kind of making me want to attach even more to her, but I'm not gonna do that because I recognize that, and I'm proud of myself that I can recognize that. Something that I'm definitely learning, that if this friendship does not work out in the future, or things don't work out between the two of us, then I'm not going to try to make it work. I'm not going to hold on to it, because if it's not meant to be and if it's falling apart, I will not be the one to try to build that shit back up. If the friendship is honestly reaching its end and it's reaching its point where it's just not going to work out between the two of us, at least I tried. At least we tried. You know, at least we tried. And that takes some bravery, you know, because relationships and friendships and connections and all that shit, it's hard, you know, to have those. Even a friendship with a new person that you barely know, it's hard, you know, because you don't know if you're always gonna be the person for each other. And it's really hard to meet people and to be so open with them and open your heart to them, and then for it to not work out like that's a fucking punch in the gut. Like that shit's hard. That hurts, you know, because now you're, you know, kind of heartbroken and you're kind of hurting. Me, at least, I'm hurting right now, and all that I could do is really sit with the pain, you know. All that I could really do is just sit with it, and I can't positivity my way out of this. I can't, you know, and it hurts because I do feel like I definitely am kind of pulling away. And it's not that I'm trying to pull away, I'm just really, there's a spider web on this tree, or this stick. It's not that I'm trying to pull away, or I'm not trying to be like avoidant. I'm just trying to help create some healthy distance between us. I'm trying to create good boundaries. And as somebody who wasn't taught how to set boundaries growing up, I'm teaching myself, and so it's gonna take me some time. I'm still figuring that out, you know. I'm at this place that I know that when people start to pull away from me in friendships, I can get kind of toxic, you know. I can kind of be like, oh, I kind of get into this place where like I'm scared of being hurt, and I'm scared of them pulling away from me, and I'm scared of them hurting me, so I'll pull away first and I'll hurt them first, you know, by distancing myself from them, or by hanging out with not better people, that's not what I meant, by hanging out with other people, and by hanging out with people like in front of them to make them jealous. I recognize that pattern in myself, and I hold no shame about that, because I'm not going to shame myself. I think it's brave that I can recognize that, you know. A lot of people don't even recognize that they're doing that, and that's why they continue to do it, and that's why they have shitty ass relationships. But that's a pattern in me that I'm recognizing. I'm recognizing that within myself, and I do feel her kind of pulling away, and so it's making me want to pull away even more. And her pulling away has been triggering me and making me sad, but at the end of the day, if that's what she's most comfortable with, and if that's her way of setting boundaries, the only thing I can do is really respect it. And so yeah, I guess there's definitely like anger and a little bit of hatred, but I know that like these feelings, like I feel bad saying there's a little bit of hatred, because hatred's it's a heavy emotion, you know. It's a little bit of I wouldn't say it's negative or positive. It's just an emotion that's it's less positive. It's a less it's a less fulfilling, you know, not relationship, emotion. Like, you know, when you're feeling happy and when you're feeling super excited about something, that's a good feeling to be feeling, you know, excited, happy. But when you're feeling hatred and hateful and anger, like, that shit is hard to fucking sit with. And right now I'm having to sit with that. It's very uncomfortable, actually. But, you know, being vulnerable, and it's a beautiful day. It's starting to like get very bright outside. You know, being vulnerable with said person about how I feel, and being able to like sit with the pain, and being able to be in a place where I can process my feelings, and be in a place where I can recognize that I'm feeling this way, and it is because I'm being triggered, and it's because it's definitely triggering me, and it's bringing up a trigger response within me. But you know, something that I listened to this podcast the other day, and something that the podcast said was, you know, it's your trigger, so it's your responsibility. So I feel like when you get triggered by somebody, or when somebody triggers you, it's not the other person's responsibility to like, you know, heal you. If somebody like triggers you, then it's like your responsibility to, you know, heal that for yourself, because, you know, I think that in connections especially, it's a problem that people expect, like, when you're in a relationship with somebody, your significant other, or you will expect your significant other to, like, freaking read your mind. And that's not healthy, because that's just not how communication works. Communication is double-sided. And yeah, there's a lot of people like coming up, so I think I'm gonna get up and walk away because I'm getting distracted. Let's go for a walk. I think I'm gonna go to the park. Go through this way. I didn't have like a big breakfast today just because the Hawk doesn't serve like food that's really good for my belly, so I have a harder time eating that food. So I just had like 2 smoothies, or 2 cups of a smoothie, so 1 piece of avocado toast, and then like a bagel, which I know that seems like a lot, but it's not, because it just doesn't fulfill me, and I'm hungry. Get out of my way. There's a lot of people starting to show up. It's a beautiful day today, truly. I just don't feel like being around people today. My social battery is fucking dead. Can't tell if that's a bench up there or not. I don't know where to sit. I'll just sit over here. Smoked at this park yesterday. Alrighty, tidy. At my new spot. On some benches. Where was I? Oh yeah, so yeah, definitely. It's been really hard. Because this person, I really still do want to be friends in the future, and I still want to be friends right now. It's just, it's hard to be friends with somebody that you do have feelings for, but also I know that from personal experience you can still be friends with people that you have feelings for. You just have to give yourself time to move on. And personally, I know that I'm already moving on, you know. it's just gonna take some time, you know. And so I just hope that she's patient enough with me to like actually, you know, wait and don't just like cut me off. So that's definitely a fear that I've been having, and an anxiety, because I do understand that, like, I truly understand that things must be uncomfortable for her, and she probably feels bad, you know, when somebody is vulnerable with you and you don't feel the same. Like that, it puts you in a kind of awkward situation, and I don't want her to feel like uncomfortable, and I don't want her to feel all weirded out. But you know, if she feels like she needs to, like, you know, not be my friend anymore because she thinks that'll be the best thing for her, then I respect that. But obviously it's kind of uncomfortable, not uncomfortable, but it's unfortunate for me because, you know, I guess my feelings for her and my friendship with her are two different things, you know. And I guess somewhere along the way of us being friends, the lines were kind of blurred for me, and I kind of lost track. And so right now I'm kind of in this place where I have no idea if we're going to be able to be friends. I feel like we will, but I have no idea if both of us are going to want that. And I have no idea what the fuck the future is going to be for us. But also I think that it's so important that, you know, right now, since the lines have blurred and I kind of did cross a line, and, you know, like, I guess if you think of it, this is the friendship line, and I guess I kind of lost track of where that line was, and that's okay. I think that I shouldn't be ashamed about, you know, feeling feelings, because you can't control who you open up your heart to. It's just something that happens, you know. And unfortunately, there's a child screaming and it is triggering me. But unfortunately, some people just don't always feel the same. You know, they don't feel the same, and it's not something to be embarrassed about. It obviously is embarrassing at first, and that is what I'm going through, the embarrassment of it. I'm kind of humiliated, but I think that feelings are fluid, you know. And right now I'm in this place where I'm feeling a little bit heartbroken, I'm feeling disappointed, I'm feeling a little bit hateful, a little bit angry, embarrassed, you know, scared of what this future is going to look for us. I could feel that she's pulling away, so it's kind of making me like stressed out. I'm probably pulling away. It probably make her feel stressed out too. But yeah, so I guess I know that these feelings will pass and they're not forever. But yeah, so I'm still trying to figure all this stuff out. It's difficult, for sure. But I'm proud of myself. It'll be okay. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to talk about. That's really what's going on in my life right now. I'm dealing with all that. It's kind of hard to move on from somebody, but also maintain a friendship with them. That's kind of a difficult thing to do. So I'm trying my best to create healthy distance between us, and trying my best to create boundaries, because I do believe that we could be friends in the future, but it is also something that it's gonna take time. I just honestly need like a few months, and then I'll be fine. But it was like a week ago. I just need to be patient with myself. Noah out.